We are doing another reaction video, but this one is a little bit different. This one is a little more serious. I want to talk about the new documentary on Netflix, the Diddy documentary, Sean Combs' The Reckoning. Just came out a few days ago. It's 4 episodes. Each episode is about an hour long. I had to sit on this one for a second and decide how I was going to do this review because it was a lot of information to take in, a lot of processing to know that these artists that were a part of Bad Boy had to endure a lot. And for them to produce the sounds, the hits that they did under such pressure is really mind-blowing. It's actually hard to believe. So that's what we're going to do in this video today. Diddy's trial began on May 5th, 2025, starting with jury selection. But by May 12th, 2025, opening statements started. It only took 7 weeks and 3 days to come up with a verdict. He was acquitted of racketeering and sex trafficking charges. He was sentenced to 50 months in prison with time served. They will show you this at the beginning of each episode and at the end of each episode, just in case you forget. I also realized that this documentary was made by Curtis Jackson, the executive producer. If you guys don't know who Curtis Jackson is, he's 50 Cent. We all know how 50 Cent gets down. There's no lying in him. There's no clout chasing in him. For him to produce this documentary, it hit a lot different versus someone else doing it, because I feel that anytime 50 Cent has come forth on something, he has been involved in something, it's legit. It's credible. That's why watching this was a lot to take in. I actually found myself pausing, rewinding, because it was so hard to hear. My heart goes out for anyone that has had to really go through it just to make their dreams come true. In this reaction video, I'm here to bring the facts. I am here to bring the logic. I am here to bring what is real. This is pure facts of what was presented in the documentary. A lot of people in this documentary were people that worked with Diddy, under Diddy, very close with Diddy. So their testimonies are very powerful, very insightful. There were parts of this documentary that I don't even think I can talk about because it was so descriptive, vulgar, really hard to hear. Diddy got really famous after the incident that happened at City College in 1991. The major incident at City College in 1991 was a deadly crowd crush and stampede at a celebrity charity at a basketball game on December 28th, 1991. It was at the CCNY gymnasium, resulting in 9 deaths. 9. There were also 29 injuries. That reminds me of the Travis Scott concert that took place, where also fans lost their life due to the overcrowding and surging fans, including stars like Mike Tyson and Reverend Al Sharpton. Heavy D. What I am trying to figure out is, how do you hold an event like that with big names like that? They were huge back in the day. And allow this to be conducted in a small space such as a gymnasium. That should have been at an arena. That should have been at like a football field or something to accommodate all those people. And especially hearing that lineup, you're going to have people that's going to come in there and bum rush the lineup. I mean, that was not thought through. But the fact that you are known for tragedy, this isn't starting off good. So around this time, Diddy was still an AR for Uptown Records that was ran by Andre Harrell. Eventually, he fired Diddy. Diddy was devastated. I'm not sure exactly the reasons what he fired Diddy for, but I can only imagine. Also at this time, Biggie had started recording his album. He was allowed to take Biggie with him, and that's exactly what he did. This would be the beginning of Bad Boy. One person in particular that was throughout the entire documentary that I think had the strongest testimony was a man named Kirk Burroughs. If you don't know who Kirk Burroughs is, Kirk Burroughs was a co-founder of Bad Boy. Let me say that again, co-founder, the foundation of Bad Boy. So you know that he's seen and heard a lot. I can imagine. One thing I found very, very, very interesting was, and I quote, Diddy was insanely jealous of the relationship between Tupac and Biggie. He chose the adjective insanely. Not he was very, he was much, he was so. He said insanely. P. Diddy approached Pac and wanted to work with him. But Pac didn't want any of that. He wanted no parts. He only was interested in working with Biggie, so the documentary says. Kirk Burroughs, co founder of Bad Boy, also owned 25% of the company. When Biggie was promoting his project, he had the opportunity to be on the cover of Rolling Stones. P. Diddy didn't allow this, though. He told Kirk to have Biggie removed from that opportunity, and he was going to put himself on the Rolling Stones cover, which he did, promoting No Way Out. Right around the time that Biggie was killed, he was negotiating his contract. His contract was signed, all ready to go, with Biggie's needs met. But later on, Puff asked Kirk to rearrange the contract, even though it was already signed, asking him to replace articles and to remove articles. So this would be in Bad Boy's favor. Kirk then decided to stand up and say, no, I will have no parts in doing that. I refuse to do that. 90 days later, he was fired. And I quote, Kirk explained that P. Diddy came into his office one day with a bat, threatening him to give up his 25%. When Biggie passed, we all remember that funeral, right? Going through New York. But what we didn't know, according to the documentary, Biggie paid for his own funeral. Tupac was shot one night in the same building that Biggie happened to be recording. When Tupac went to jail after this incident, in the documentary, Tupac is talking about his time in jail, hearing people telling him that Diddy did this. So that's why in those interviews, he was very, very convinced. He was very convicted in his statements that Diddy did this. The most haunting quote, the most haunting statement in that documentary for me was when Kirk said, Diddy ushered Biggie to his death. A person of that power is going to be intimidating to stand up against unless you have an army. And even then, it doesn't work sometimes. Shine was an artist of Bad Boy. He was a part of the nightclub shooting in New York. There was a lady in that documentary that described seeing P. Diddy have a gun. But yet he walked scot-free and Shine did 10 years. I always wonder, the night that Biggie passed, there's a few questions actually. Why wasn't Biggie and P. Diddy in the same car that night? Why did they have to take separate cars? For me, if I am with my artist or my people and I'm super excited, I want to be in the same car. I want to be in the same space, celebrating, feeling that energy. I always thought that was just ironic. Why are you celebrating having parties out in enemy territory? Kirk also describes that Biggie did not want to be out in LA, but P. Diddy forced him to go. And then in another interview, he states that he was following Biggie's lead. P. Diddy actually said he was following Biggie's lead on this. Since when do we know Puff Daddy to follow anybody? Hasn't he had enough episodes, like moments, like tantrums, to show us that he has a hard time having a boss? He is the boss. You don't come off as if you let people make decisions. You make decisions for people in every aspect of their life, according to the people that have worked with you. Mark Curry, another person that has worked with P. Diddy, made a song, very popular song. He stated how he had to coach P. Diddy on this and how awful he was with having no skills. He also explained how that put him at another level in his career. And yet he got no gain off of that, and he did all the work. P. Diddy really affected Mark's life, and you can see that in the documentary. Another thing I always noticed about Diddy was that Diddy always had to be in the artist videos. As a child, because I was 10 when Biggie and Pac passed, I always wondered why Diddy was in these videos, but the artist was either singing or rapping or doing something, and here he is just hopping around in the background. I never understood that. And to me, I felt it was unnecessary. So I felt at a young age, like, let the artist shine. You're kind of distracting me from seeing them right now. It always seemed that Diddy always had to be a part of something as if the artists were an accessory to him. instead of them being an artist. And they state that in this documentary. I notice he has always pursued someone else's significant other. For instance, L.B. Sure. L.B. Sure was with Kim Porter. They had children together. Misa Hilton was dating a guy named Eric Sermon. Cassidy was dating P. Diddy's producer, Ryan Leslie. He also took Cassidy. I am not sure how to feel about the Cassidy situation because I've heard both sides. I've heard, wow, she's a victim. I've also heard, well, she could have left at any time. We will never know, but I will say this. From all of the testimonies that I have heard, it sounded like P. Diddy was really good at controlling the situation, every element of it. Who's to say that maybe somebody wrote those emails for her? Maybe she typed them with a gun to her head. We don't know. Just because there's text messages and emails, we weren't there, we don't know. There is an escort in the documentary that explains in depth the relationship that he had with both Cassidy and Diddy, and it was very hard to hear. Had mentioned that the baby oil was laced with GHB. Whether or not she was willing to be involved in these things, I do know this. The video of her getting tossed around and kicked is totally unacceptable. It's hard to watch. It's hard to watch any human being or animal be in that situation. That's enough to just see that. People, she's human. Maybe she couldn't get away. Maybe she could. But that's not for us to decide. Capricorn Clark also talks about her experience with P. Diddy. She was the personal assistant to P. Diddy from 2004 to 2012. And in that time, she describes on how she was kidnapped to go and be a part of the killing plot for Kid Cudi. The way that these ex-employees have described their encounter with P. Diddy, I mean, very convincing because of the minute details that they mention. And a lot of their testimonies actually mention details that are kind of similar within each other that I don't feel you can make up. You have to know that that's a vulnerable thing for someone to talk about and to expose themselves like that. Very hard to do. So I don't know if these people are making this up to get that kind of light. So that's why it was very, very hard to process. I don't know what they would gain from making that up. I actually would be scared to talk about a story like that, wondering if people are going to come after me. That's probably how they feel. P. Diddy winning the award in 2022, the Lifetime Achievement Award. And I remember him jumping up and down like a little kid. I just couldn't understand it. And I still think in my head, like, there is just something different about this man. Roger Bonds is also someone in the documentary that explains his relationship with Diddy. He was also a security guard for P. Diddy. He explains that Diddy had God syndrome. He explains that as well in the documentary. As the documentary goes on, you can actually hear him say in one of the scenes that he has to get himself up to par when he was making the Love album because he compares himself to the Son of God. Rodney, Little Rod Jones, was also in the documentary. I found it very interesting hearing him explain his experiences. He also disclosed that he still has not gotten paid for the Love album. Listening to Rodney's statement was very hard also. He explains how he was drugged. Some nights he woke up with women in his bed, and sometimes he woke up with P. Diddy next to him. He also explains an incident where he saw P. Diddy and Justin Combs coming out of a bathroom after he heard gunshots while he was producing a song with his headphones on. He proceeds to go into the bathroom, and there is blood everywhere. And they show this in the documentary. He said the ambulance came to get the young gentleman that was shot in the bathroom. They took him away, and they never knew what happened to that guy. I mean, this is some scary stuff. If you notice, the similarities between Biggie and Pac's videos is actually quite interesting. Pac's I Get Around video was the basis of Big's video. P. Diddy saw what Death Row was doing. So he decided to incorporate that in Biggie's videos. You have to have a strong stomach, I feel, to watch this documentary. People talk about their involvement of the execution of Pac. I didn't even know how to take that. There are a few celebrities' deaths that bother me. MJ, Selena, Aaliyah, Biggie, Pac. To hear people talk and jokingly about this execution, it made me nauseous. I think at that part, I just had to take a break. If you guys have watched the documentary already, talk to me about it. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think. I'm so curious to hear what other people think about this documentary. I feel like my questions have been answered. I have always wondered if Diddy had any involvement with both killings because they were 6 months apart. I've always wondered that, and I feel like this documentary answered some of my questions. And I want to know what you guys think too. I want to know how you feel about this. I want to know what your thoughts are. That's it for this video. I will see you guys in the next video. And thank you so much as always for watching. Ciao.